You might be surprised by what really happens when someone decides to live alone after turning 60. At first, it may seem like a simple choice: more freedom, more peace and quiet, fewer interruptions. But in reality, this decision comes with layers that only those who live it truly understand. In this video, we're going to explore 10 truths no one talks about, but everyone should know before choosing this path. These are everyday moments that often go unnoticed, feelings that rise quietly in the routine, and discoveries that only appear when you're truly on your own. From seemingly harmless challenges to deep revelations that can change the way you see aging, these real experiences show that living alone can be incredibly freeing. But it also takes more than just courage. You might see yourself in some of these. You might even change your mind about what it means to age alone. One thing is certain: this video will open your eyes to what it really means to live solo after 60, with freedom, with responsibility, and most of all, with awareness. So go ahead and like the video and subscribe to the channel, because what's coming next just might change the way you see everything. 10. Cooking for one. At first it seems simple. Throw something together, eat on the couch, save time. After all, it's just you. No one to impress, no one waiting at the table. Just the plate, the silence, and sometimes yesterday's leftovers. But as the days go by, this practical habit starts to leave invisible marks. Food loses its flavor. Appetite blurs with laziness. And that quiet thought, "It's not worth cooking just for me," begins to settle in, like someone slowly losing their hunger for themselves. According to the National Institute on Aging, more than 1/3 of adults over 60 who live alone report a decline in their eating habits after retirement. The reason? Lack of motivation, and the absence of an old ritual, cooking with care and seeing someone smile across the table. But here's something not everyone discovers right away. Cooking for yourself is also an act of love. Self-love. The kind that doesn't need applause. When you turn that moment into care, even if it's simple, even if it's imperfect, something shifts. Many say that once they started cooking just for themselves, they began experimenting with new recipes, flavors, and cravings. Not to impress, but to reconnect. And suddenly the kitchen became a place of life again, not absence. Because sometimes you don't need company at the table. You just need to remember that you still deserve to be well served. And in the next item, the challenge goes beyond the plate. It involves the body and the will to keep it moving. 9. Keeping your body moving takes effort and intention. Living alone changes a lot of things, and one of the first to notice is your body. It doesn't shout. One day you're taking the stairs more carefully. The next, you're staying in because it's a bit chilly. And before you realize it, your steps are shorter, and the couch is becoming a little too familiar. According to the World Health Organization, nearly 30% of adults over 65 are sedentary, and that drastically increases the risk of chronic illnesses. But here's the surprising part. The body often stops not out of laziness, but out of loneliness. When there are no appointments, no one nudging you with a "let's go for a walk," the desire to move just fades. It's not only the muscles that lock up, it's the emotions too. But here's the good news: movement can return. And it doesn't need to look like a gym or a goal on a calendar. Sometimes it starts with music while you tidy the house, a short stroll to the bakery, or the determined tug of a little dog on a leash. Just like many older adults in a recent study who rediscovered the joy of going outside after adopting a pet. In moments like these, movement isn't about burning calories. It's about remembering that you're still here, and that your body still wants and deserves to be part of the life you're building. And in the next item, you'll see how repetition, at times, can be exactly what the soul needs to feel at home. 8. Daily routine becomes sacred and grounds you in time. When you live alone, time begins to feel different. The days are no longer shaped by other people's schedules. No more school runs, meetings, shared meals, or voices calling from the other room. The clock still ticks, but no one watches it with urgency. And slowly, you may find yourself drifting through hours or even days without noticing. Sometimes the morning arrives and you don't realize it's Monday. Other times the week goes by and you haven't stepped outside. Time, once full of structure and obligations, becomes a wide open sea, with no direction. But it's right there that routine reveals its quiet beauty, when it stops being an obligation and starts becoming a choice. Breakfast becomes a ritual. The 6 p.m. show becomes a companion. Watering the plant stops feeling like a task and starts feeling like a conversation with life. According to the University of Exeter, older adults who follow stable routines experience lower levels of anxiety and mental confusion. Because repetition, in this case, isn't confinement, it's emotional structure. It's knowing that even when you live alone, there's a rhythm holding you, day after day. And here's something beautiful. Many people say that it was only after living alone that they finally gave themselves permission to create their own schedule, without asking anyone for approval, as if time had finally become theirs again. But in the next item, that same freedom reveals a detail that, if not taken care of, can become a silent risk. 7. Your home finally feels like you, but it demands more than just style. Living alone after 60 often means, for the first time, having total freedom to organize your home your way. Every choice, from the couch to the curtains, begins to reflect your tastes, your memories, your desires. Things that used to be negotiated with children, partners, or family now take center stage. The house stops following rules and starts following you. According to the American Association of Retired Persons, AARP, 76% of adults over 50 prefer to age in their own homes. And that makes sense. It's where we can finally be who we are without trying to please anyone. You can live in total silence, or let music echo through the rooms. You can leave the lights on until late, or wake up with the sun shining straight through the window. It's all up to you. But with that freedom comes the weight of responsibility. When something breaks, there's no one else to fix it. When dust piles up or clutter starts creeping in, it's all on you. What was once a space for self-expression can easily turn into a list of chores and fatigue. That's why living alone also calls for wisdom, learning to simplify, replacing what no longer serves you, adapting what's become difficult, prioritizing comfort over appearances. Because more than just beautiful, your home needs to be a place that holds you, gently. And there's something many people share. It was only after living alone that they found the courage to finally create the home of their dreams, without asking anyone, without needing permission. And the most common feeling? That they should have done it long ago. In the next item, that freedom of choice begins to stretch into something even bigger, how you shape your time. And that changes everything. 6. Self-care becomes even more important and easier to forget. When you live with others, there's always someone around who notices. The tired look on your face, the repeated outfit, the untouched plate. Sometimes it's a simple "are you okay?" that makes you realize something isn't. But when you live alone, that mirror disappears. No one sees if you skipped breakfast. No one reminds you about the doctor's appointment you canceled again. No one notices if pajamas have become your daily uniform and the days just slip by. According to the Cleveland Clinic, 41% of adults over 60 who live alone report neglecting some aspect of their health, whether it's nutrition, sleep, or basic hygiene. Small things that, when added up, impact everything. That's when self-care stops being about vanity and becomes an act of presence, a quiet commitment to yourself. Because when no one else is watching, you have to be the first to look at yourself with care. Getting up and getting dressed, even if you're not going out. Cooking something simple but nourishing. Changing the sheets. Lighting a candle in the evening just to make things feel warm. All of this is self-care. All of this is a reminder. I still matter. One touching detail? In the Cleveland Clinic study, many participants said that simply playing music while getting ready in the morning gave their day a completely different energy. And in the next item, autonomy goes beyond emotions. It shows up in your wallet and transforms the way you relate to money and to your own choices. 5. You learn to manage your own finances. Living alone after 60 also means taking full control, including over your finances. And for many, that's something entirely new, especially for those who spent years sharing bills, decisions, and unexpected expenses with someone else. Now, every choice is yours. From grocery lists to utility bills, from healthcare costs to those little treats you allow yourself once in a while. At first it can be scary, and there's no shame in saying that. What used to be shared now demands double the attention. But here's where things begin to shift. You start learning how to organize, how to say no when needed, how to prioritize what truly matters. According to the American Psychological Association, Older adults who feel in control of their finances report greater well-being and less anxiety about the future. Because managing money isn't just math, it's also autonomy, self-respect, and freedom. Start with a small notebook. Ask for help from someone you trust. Over time, what once felt overwhelming becomes manageable. What was fear becomes peace. And many say this: it was only after living alone that they truly learned the value of every penny, not for the price of things, but for the power to choose for themselves. And in the next item, that sense of autonomy becomes even more meaningful, especially when the world slows down and night begins to fall. 4. The fear of night, and the silence that feels heavier after dark. During the day, the routine keeps you company. There's light, noise, movement, sounds from the street, tasks to complete, distractions everywhere. But when night falls, everything shifts. The silence deepens. The house gets darker. And for many people who live alone, that's when the absence becomes loudest. It's not about lacking courage. It's about missing presence. The voice from the next room. The sound of shared laughter coming from the TV. The quiet goodnight that used to bring comfort at the end of the day. Not many people talk about this, but it's more common than we think. As the night settles in, old fears can resurface. New anxieties creep in. The tired mind starts whispering, what if something happens? What if I don't wake up well? What if no one notices? But there are ways to welcome this time of day with softness. Creating a bedtime ritual, low lighting, a warm cup of tea, soft music, can help turn emptiness into coziness. Having a favorite corner of your home to end the day, a book by the bed, a voice message from someone you love, a quiet prayer. All of it can feel like an embrace. Even when there are no arms around, the night may still be silent. But it doesn't have to be lonely. And in the next item, the silence and solitude don't just echo from the past. They knock gently at the door, in the present moment. 3. You rediscover the power of speaking out loud. Over time, living alone sharpens your listening. And interestingly enough, it also awakens something else. The urge to speak, even if no one is there to hear. At first, it might feel odd, but soon it becomes part of your day. Talk to the kettle as it whistles. You mutter at the TV. You say good morning to the mirror. You narrate your morning routine to a plant. You ask a question out loud, just to hear how it sounds aloud. It's not loneliness. It's not madness. It's presence, your own. Talking out loud when you live alone isn't a sign that something's wrong. It's a sign of connection with yourself, with your memories, with the things inside that sometimes just need to come out, unfiltered and honest. It's how thoughts get organized, how anxiety softens, how you keep the silence from swallowing everything. And many say it's in those moments that the truest conversations happen, because no one's listening. And that's exactly why we stop performing and start being real. Talking to a photo, to a pet, to God, to the day that just ended, to someone who's no longer here. All of that is a way of existing, a way of giving voice to what still lives inside, even if no one answers. And the most surprising part? Some of those conversations turn out to be the most honest we've ever had, because they don't need applause, just truth. In the next item, the absence of outside voices leads to a quiet question. Who's taking care of you when no one else is around to see it? 2. You become your own safety net. Living alone brings a powerful feeling, the sense of being in control. You decide what to do, when to do it, how to do it. But along with that freedom comes something that's not so easy to admit: vulnerability. One loose stare, a rug out of place, a dizzy spell in the middle of the night, and everything can change in seconds. It's not just the fear of falling, it's the fear of not being found, of being there, waiting for help that might not arrive anytime soon. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, adults over 65 who live alone are 4 times more likely to not receive immediate assistance during emergencies. And yet hardly anyone talks about it. Maybe out of pride, maybe out of fear of seeming fragile. But taking care of yourself, especially in these moments, is one of the greatest acts of courage and wisdom. The good news? There are simple ways to turn this worry into prevention. Emergency button watches, motion sensors, monitoring apps, even something as basic as keeping your phone nearby at all times, giving someone you trust a spare key, keeping regular contact with a neighbor, setting up a daily check-in routine. Small steps that make a big difference. A surprising fact? Since 2020, the use of personal alert devices among seniors living alone has increased by 32%. Not out of fear, but out of awareness. Because living alone doesn't mean being unprotected. It means learning to care for yourself, even when no one else is around. And in the next item comes the most beautiful part of this journey. When you realize that time is finally yours, and happiness can take a new shape. 1. You realize it's never too late to be happy. At first, living alone might feel like a challenge. But over time, something unexpected happens. In the silence, in the autonomy, in the freedom to simply be, a new kind of happiness begins to emerge. Not the loud kind, filled with events and invitations, but a quiet happiness. Calm. Steady. And maybe more real than any that came before. According to the Pew Research Center, 61% of adults over 60 who live alone say they feel more free and authentic than they did when living with someone else. It's as if, after so many losses, restarts, and transformations, solo living opens a door. The door back to yourself. No filters. No compromises. You choose your pace, your hours, your company. You learn to enjoy your own presence, to listen to yourself more closely. And then one day, without warning, you realize you're okay. That emptiness became space. That silence became peace. This realization doesn't come all at once. It arrives slowly, in a sweet afternoon, an unexpected laugh, or a moment in the mirror when you think, I'm enough. And here's what many say. It was only after living alone that they felt more real, more alive, and surprisingly, more connected to the world around them. Because in the end, living alone isn't the end of anything. It's the beginning of a new way to feel whole, with more calm, more truth, and above all, more freedom. Living alone after 60 isn't just about space, it's about reconnection, with silence, with your rhythms, with your choices, and also with the tender parts of you that now come clearly into view. And knowing that puts you one step ahead of so many. Now tell me in the comments, which of these truths surprised you the most? Which one are you already living, or secretly afraid to face? And if this video spoke to something real in your life, hit the like button and subscribe. Because here, we talk about what so many people feel, but don't always know how to put into words.